The man he just saw asking him that last question, Congressman Adam Schiff, who's the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee. Appreciate your time being with us tonight, sir. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Rachel.
Do you have clarity? Does our government have clarity on how widespread the attack was on our election systems last year on things like voting rolls that you were asking about there?
You know, I think we, to this day, continue to learn more about the Russian hacking, about the extent of it, about what they were probing, not only in terms of state, but also local elections infrastructure. So other techniques that the Russians may have been experimenting with or probing to prepare, if not that battlefield, then a future battlefield for ways that they could sow discord, create uncertainty, call into question the results of elections. And what we're really trying to do is fully understand that picture, but at the same time understand how the Russians used paid social media trolls, whether they used data analytics, whether they obviously had help of U.S. persons or entities in that to marry voter information along with social media information, along with information about particular states or precincts or voter preferences. Was there an effort by the Russians to put that together in a way to influence outcomes? So that is very much one of the issues that we continue to look at and investigate and ultimately need to get to the bottom of.
You know, I've been trying to answer this question just for myself in terms of being able to conceptualize what exactly happened last year and get a handle on what they were aiming at, how ambitious they were, how effective it was, what they might come back with in the future. And I feel like I've been able to follow it in a spot check sort of way as different journalistic enterprises around the country, papers like the Wall Street Journal or the Dallas Morning News or other regional papers, figure out what happened in their jurisdictions, what happened in their states locally. Is anybody in charge of investigating that for the whole country? Are we going to have a nationwide audit that we eventually get the results of in terms of what the Russians did attack, what they didn't attack, whether there was any rhyme or reason to it or whether it was kind of a scattershot thing?
Well, you know, ideally, if we're successful in taking these investigations to their conclusion, we'll be making a public report that will cover, you know, each of these wave fronts, including what was the Russian attack on our elections infrastructure? What did they do? What did they accomplish? It may be that the Russians, in addition to trying to sow discord, were also in the same way they might probe our hydroelectric, our power grids, or other critical infrastructure, essentially looking to see what they could accomplish if they decided to escalate to the next level. So it may be as much about the last election as it is about the next election. So we hopefully will be providing a report to the public on just these things. It is, you know, predominantly the responsibility, though, of the Department of Homeland Security to help our states with best practices to secure their elections infrastructure, to inform them in a timely way of threats to that infrastructure, and they probably have the primary agency responsibility in this area.
And on the point that you raised a moment ago about whether or not the Russians were targeting different parts of our election infrastructure in a strategically cogent way, in a way that might reasonably be seen to further what we believe were their aims overall in the election to help Trump and hurt Clinton. It's been reported in the last few days that your committee wants to talk to a man named Brad Parscale, who was basically in charge of digital for the Trump campaign. He was in charge of their voter targeting efforts. Is that true? And if so, is this what you want to talk to him about?
Rachel, I can't confirm particular witnesses, but I can certainly tell you that we are very interested in finding out whether there was an effort to make use of data analytics, whether there was Russian funding or support for that, or Russian assistance in any way with gathering data that could be used by the campaign or any associates of the campaign. So that is one of the issues that we are exploring. We want to see whether there was an effort to, by manipulation, for example, by the use of bots, push negative stories about Hillary Clinton or positive stories about Donald Trump to the top of people's social media feed in a way that would help influence outcomes. So this is very much one of the issues that we need to wrestle with. I will say this, too, though, that in the broader scheme of things, it is going to be vital, obviously, to protect that elections infrastructure. It does have that inherent safeguard you mentioned of decentralization. But the greater defense, I think, is ultimately informing the American public about what the Russians did, what they might do the next time, and somehow inoculating ourselves, somehow arriving at a consensus where whether it hurts or helps one party or the other, we all condemn it. That ultimately is the best defense.
Yeah, we condemn it, and we're aware of it, and we take steps to stop it from happening again.
Absolutely.
Congressman Adam Schiff, top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Thank you, sir.